This is what my manual looked like in January, and this is what my manual looked like 3 months later in March. So let's go over how I got here. First, it's important to note that I am coming at manuals from a point of pretty solid board control. I had been skating for almost 2 years when I started this, and I had at least 250 full hours of skateboarding under my belt. That was a huge factor in how I got to this level of comfort manualing so fast. But even if you're still quite new to skating, I think the following 3 phases that I went through might be beneficial for you as well. Just keep in mind that it could take a lot longer, and that's totally normal. Now, my progress with manuals can be largely divided into 3 distinct phases. Phase 1, I took my board and went straight to the nearest parking lot. I'm kidding. I went straight to my living room to work on them stationary. Ask any skater and 99% of them will tell you that rolling manuals are easier than stationary manuals. And I kind of agree, but I still recommend starting your manual progression stationary. Not because the most skater thing about me is my love of challenging the mainstream narrative, no, but because we're weak. Manuals use a lot of unique and bizarre muscles that we don't train that often, even after skating for a while. And starting with your trucks in a crack or on carpet, even in the grass, is the perfect way to start strengthening those muscles, start learning how to adjust and move your upper body, and start building up some confidence as you start getting longer and longer stationary manuals. I probably did 2 months worth of almost daily carpet manuals before starting to do them outside. And I would just count to 30 seconds of keeping my trucks in the air in total, and then I'd work on nose manuals this way too. Doing this almost every day, I went from averaging about 2 seconds per attempt back then to 4 or 5 seconds now, and often longer. As an added bonus, it is the perfect skill to work on when the weather is bad. But I would recommend to make sure that you're stretching out your feet, ankles, and calves after practicing. And remember, you don't need to do this a lot, just a little every day makes a huge difference. Phase 2. Then I took the board outside and started throwing manuals around. I'd do a trick down this basketball court, and then would try to do a manual on my way back to the starting position. The important part of phase 2 was that I had no big goals. I just spent a few weeks, probably about a month, playing with manuals, getting my nose in the air, hopping onto the tail and trying to hold it, doing a tiny manual attempt in between tricks, and if I did dedicate any time to playing with manuals, it was normally only around 5 minutes or so. Phase 2 was all about playing and experimenting, and during this time, I kept up with the indoor stationary manuals about every other day. Phase 3. After all that, I had been working on stationary manuals for maybe 3 months and playing around with them for about 1. So I took my manuals to a parking lot and was able to manual 2 car spaces, confirming to me that all my training had paid off. I was in a position where, with a bit of speed, I had the muscle and control to really start getting manuals. Not every try, not even close, but I was having a lot of fun now. So I took this newfound motivation and found my favorite mani spot in the world, a basketball court. And I just manual the lines. The tip-off circle was the smallest, so I started by manualing half of it, then the whole thing. I manualed the free throw box, the paint. From the 3, I just rolled around and tried to manual all different variations of the lines. And now it's one of my favorite things to do. I love showing up to an empty basketball court, throwing on some music, and just rolling for a session. I'm even starting to throw in some nose manuals. And I'm really happy to say that they were not torture to go for after about 5 months or so of consistent and pressure-free indoor stationary manuals. So my final thoughts. Practice methods are never guaranteed, but I wanted to share this. About a year ago, when I first went over learning manuals, I mentioned a similar method. Unfortunately, I didn't stick to it myself, but now, a year later, and often stuck inside due to rain or snow, I challenged myself to stick it out and found some really fun ways to practice. Besides, the real secret is always consistent effort. So hopefully something in here will help you or inspire you for your own practice method. And as always, I hope you enjoyed the video.